Alright, what's going on everyone? My name is Teejay Moore. I'm a graphic designer. I'm going to be showing you today how to experiment in Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop, specifically using gradients. This is a really cool process that is pretty intuitive, so you can kind of really do as you please. And what I really love about this is the results are always different. So we're going to go ahead and get started in Adobe Illustrator. So the first thing when making a gradient is choosing your color. It's honestly the most important thing with a gradient. But so what I love to do with someone who doesn't know much about color right off the bat is trying to find a harmonious color palette. And the biggest tool that you can use right now is using the Adobe Color Wheel. The Adobe Color Wheel is super simple, where you can just input a hex code and it develops a harmonious color palette using whatever code you picked. You can pick whichever one you kind of feel works best depending on the feel and mood that you're going to go for. I already went ahead and chose this analogous color palette, which I think looks really nice, and I kind of like the feel that it's giving me. So we're going to go ahead and start in Adobe Illustrator, draw a square. We're going to fill that with the gradient. I'm going to go ahead and choose this freeform gradient, which is a fairly new feature that Illustrator just added that I think is pretty fun. Already messing up here. So we're going to go ahead and fill these little circles in with the colors of our choosing. I'm going to pick these three. Maybe should I do this red? No, we're going to go the pink. Alright, so once you figure out a color palette and a gradient that you kind of feel like is working, I like the way that this is working. It's really simple and looks nice. We're going to go ahead and we're going to abstract it in Adobe Photoshop. So once we have our file in Adobe Photoshop, we're going to go ahead and just kind of mess around with it. Photoshop has a ton of cool features that you can use just to kind of spice up your artwork and really kind of just do things different. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my elliptical marquee tool, select over my artwork, copy and paste it. It's going to create a circle out of my gradient, but I still keep my layer, creates two layers. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to close my circle layer, go to my gradient, show this really cool tool that I like to use called the Liquify Tool. Liquify allows you to kind of push your artwork and kind of make it this psychedelic mess, which is always really fun to mess with. I like kind of being a little simple, and we're just going to give it a nice little spiral like that. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to open up my circle, and I'm just going to give it a simple rotation. Go ahead and see how it looks with my blending modes. Blending modes are always cool to mess around with because they allow you to kind of manipulate your artwork while making it feel a little more natural. So you can kind of see how it's bringing in the Liquify that I already did into my circle. So another really cool feature that you can use if you don't like the initial colors of your gradient is you can go ahead and your Hue and Saturation tool. Your Hue and Saturation is going to allow you to manipulate the color. And since we already chose a harmonious color palette, any kind of way that you customize it, they should be fairly working together, whether I want to look warmer or cooler. But I really like what I'm having with what I already have, so I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. The next thing is I always add as the last feature, which I'm going to go ahead and merge these layers together. So now it's one physical piece. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add noise. Noise is always really cool because it allows you to kind of make your work feel a little more natural. You can already see how it's already being able to do that. Kind of gives that risograph feel, which is a kind of a printing style. And you don't really need much. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to add. I like to go even, so let's see what 8 looks like. Oh, that's 300. I'm going to go with 8, and you can kind of change with monochromatic or regular. I'm going to go with regular on this one. Actually, let's go like half of that. Indecisive. 6. We're going with 6. Alright, so once you have your noise selected out, I already think that that's kind of a cool piece. Looks kind of trendy, looks simple, and it's pretty experimental. So basically this is how you mess around with gradients. This is kind of, I hope, the first stepping tool. So go ahead, take with some of these features, go ahead and mess with them on your own and see what you come up with, and feel free to send it to No Space Productions. We'd love to see how it turns out. Hope you learned a lot. Hope you enjoyed what I had to, I guess, teach. I've never taught anything before. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.